Hello everyone. Today, I'm here to share some fascinating events from ancient and historical times. Human history is a vast ocean of time. We often think of history starting with the pyramids or the invention of writing. But the real story, the story of how we became us, was written in the shadows of caves and the heat of the first embers. To understand our world today, we must travel back to a time when the night was a wall of terror, when the air was silent of words, and when the discovery of a single spark changed the trajectory of our species forever. In this video, we will explore three pivotal questions. How did we survive the night 10,000 years ago? What was the world like before fire? And how did a series of grunts and gestures evolve into the complex languages we speak today? Before the mastery of fire, roughly 2 million years ago, our ancestors, Homo habilis and early Homo erectus, lived at the mercy of the sun. When the sun went down, the world belonged to the mega-predators. Creatures like the Dinophilis, a false, saber-toothed cat, were evolutionarily designed to hunt primates in the dark. For early humans, the night was not a time for sleep. It was a time for survival. Without the ability to see in the dark, they were effectively blind. They didn't have claws, fangs, or night vision. How did they stay alive? They did what modern chimpanzees do. They fled upwards. Early humans spent their nights huddled in the high branches of trees or tucked into precarious rock crevices. Sleep was fitful and light. Any snap of a twig below could mean a leopard was climbing toward them. There were no blankets, no pillows, only the cold night air and the shivering warmth of huddling together with their kin. Life before fire meant a life of raw consumption. Our ancestors spent up to 6 or 7 hours a day simply chewing. Raw meat is tough and full of bacteria. Raw tubers are fibrous and difficult to digest. Because they couldn't cook, they had to have massive jaw muscles and large digestive tracts to process the low-energy food. This left very little energy for the brain to grow. In the world before fire, humans were just another animal in the food chain. When humans finally tamed fire, it wasn't just a tool, it was an external stomach. Cooking predigests food, making it softer and releasing more calories. This led to a profound biological trade-off. Our guts shrank, and our brains exploded in size. Fire literally fueled the evolution of the human mind. Fire turned the night from a time of hiding into a time of gathering. The circle of light created a safe zone where predators feared to tread. For the first time, humans could step down from the trees and claim the ground as their own. The origin of language is often called the hardest problem in science. Unlike stone tools, words do not leave fossils. However, through evolutionary biology and linguistics, we can piece together the proto-language. Many scientists believe we spoke with our hands before our mouths. Early humans needed to communicate while hunting. Vocalizing would alert the prey, but hand signals were silent. Over time, these gestures became more complex. Even today, the part of our brain that controls speech, Broca's area, is closely linked to the part that controls hand movements. The bow-wow theory suggests that humans imitated the sounds of animals to identify them. A woof meant a wolf, a hiss meant a snake. The poo-poo theory suggests language started from instinctive emotional cries, gasps of pain, laughs of joy, or grunts of effort. A major physical change was required for speech. In other primates, the larynx, voice box, is high in the throat. In humans, it dropped lower. This created a larger space in the throat that allowed us to produce the wide variety of vowel sounds necessary for complex language. This was a dangerous evolutionary trade-off. Because our larynx is lower, humans are the only primates that can easily choke on food. Nature decided that the ability to talk was worth the risk of choking. Modern science has identified the FOXP2 gene, often called the language gene. A mutation in this gene, roughly 50,000 to 100,000 years ago, gave humans the fine motor control of the mouth and tongue needed for rapid, clear speech. This was the final software update that allowed us to tell stories. By 10,000 BC, the world had changed. The Ice Age was ending, and the agricultural revolution was beginning. Humans were no longer nomads hiding in caves. They lived in permanent settlements like Jericho or Çatalhöyük. Their homes were built of sun-dried mud bricks or timber. How did they spend their nights? The fire was still the center, but now it was used for storytelling. This is where culture was born. Around the fire, elders passed down oral traditions. They explained the movements of the stars, the history of the tribe, and the laws of the community. Night was also a time for labor. Under the light of oil lamps made from animal fat, women might weave baskets or grind grain, while men sharpened stone tools. We also see the rise of religion. Many Neolithic sites show evidence of nighttime rituals, dancing, chanting, and ancestor worship, conducted under the flickering shadows of torches. Interestingly, 10,000 years ago, people didn't sleep 8 hours straight, like we try to do today. They practiced biphasic sleep. They would fall asleep shortly after dusk, wake up for an hour or two in the middle of the night to talk, eat, or have sex, and then fall back into a second sleep until dawn. The journey from a terrified primate huddling in a tree to a modern human sitting in a lighted room is a story of 3 great victories. Fire gave us the energy to grow our brains. Language gave us the ability to share our minds. Community gave us the structure to build a civilization. 10,000 years ago, our ancestors looked up at the same stars we see tonight. They felt the same cold, the same hunger, and the same love for their families. We are here today because they learned to master the darkness, one spark and one word at a time. As language became more complex, humans didn't just talk about where the food was. They started talking about things they couldn't see. This is what historians call the cognitive revolution. In the dead of night, staring into the shifting shapes of the fire, the human imagination was born. A rustle in the bushes wasn't just wind, it became a spirit. The sun wasn't just a light, it became a god. 10,000 years ago, the night became the birthplace of mythology. Around the Neolithic hearths, the first religions were forged. Humans began to bury their dead with flowers and tools, believing in a journey beyond the physical world. Without fire, the human story would have ended in the African savanna. But with the mastery of the flame, we became the most invasive species on Earth. By 10,000 years ago, humans had reached the frozen tundras of Siberia and the tip of South America. Fire allowed us to carry the tropics with us. We used fire to harden the tips of wooden spears, making them strong enough to pierce the hide of a woolly mammoth. We used bone needles to sew animal furs into clothing, a technology made possible only because fire provided the light to do such intricate work during the long winter nights. It was during these ancient nights that one of the most important alliances in history was formed. Wolves, attracted by the smell of roasting meat and the warmth of the fire, began to linger at the edges of human camps. Those wolves that were less aggressive were tolerated. Eventually, they became our protectors. At night, while the tribe slept, these proto-dogs acted as a biological alarm system. Their superior hearing and smell meant that no predator could sneak up on a human camp unnoticed. This partnership allowed humans to sleep more deeply, giving our brains the rest needed for even more complex thought. Linguist Robin Dunbar suggested that language evolved as a way of digital grooming. Just as monkeys pick lice off each other to bond, humans started using gossip. Around the fire 10,000 years ago, we talked about who was trustworthy, who was a good hunter, and who was a liar. This allowed humans to live in groups larger than any other primate, up to 150 people. Language was the social glue that held the tribe together. If you couldn't talk, you couldn't belong. And if you didn't belong, you didn't survive the night. As language allowed for the coordination of many people, we see the rise of chiefdoms. The person who could speak the most persuasively around the fire often became the leader. This was the beginning of politics. The Council of Elders would sit in the darkness, lit only by the central flame, making decisions that would affect the survival of the entire village. Even today, we carry the legacy of our ancestors. Why are we attracted to glowing screens in the dark? Why does a crackling fireplace make us feel safe? Psychologists believe this is an evolutionary memory. For millions of years, light in the darkness meant safety, food, and family. Today, the blue light of our phones is a digital campfire. We are still that same creature, trying to keep the shadows at bay with a small spark. Nyctophobia, the fear of the dark, is not a childish fear. It is a survival instinct that saved our ancestors for 2 million years. Those who were afraid of the dark stayed near the fire and lived to pass on their genes. Those who weren't afraid wandered into the shadows and were eaten by the Dinophiles. We are the children of the survivors. As we look at our modern world, our skyscrapers, our spaceships, and our internet, it is easy to forget our humble beginnings. But the foundation of everything we have built rests on 3 things: the flame that gave us heat, the word that gave us connection, the night that gave us imagination. We are the species that refused to stay in the trees. We are the species that invited the wolf to sit by our side. We are the species that turned the terrifying silence of the night into a symphony of stories. If you enjoyed today's video, please subscribe to our channel and stay with us.